Hi, this is Joan Herman, and this is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. Thanks for joining me today. Our guest today is Victoria Osteen, wife of Joel Osteen and co-pastor of Lakewood Church in Houston, Texas. Victoria is a New York Times best-selling author, and her newest children's book is entitled Gifts from the Heart. Good morning, Victoria.
Hello, Joan. Good morning.
I was a guest at your event at the Izod Center, and during the evening, Joel shared with everyone the story of how you met. And I have to tell you, he had the most incredible smile on his face when he shared that story. Could you share that with our listeners?
Well, we actually met in my family jewelry store. He came in to buy a watch, and that's where we met. And the joke is that he came in to buy a watch, and he came in to actually get a watch battery, and I sold him a watch. And I've been taking his money ever since.
That's right.
But the truth is that he came in, and he was always just he was a wonderful person. And well, the funny thing is we went on our first date at what was called the Compact Center, which is now our church in Houston, Texas. And so, we look back at that and we realize, God can do amazing things in your life.
Yeah, it was meant to be.
It was. And if we knew then what we know now, I don't know how we would have handled it. But, God takes us one step at a time, and He's always got our best interest at heart. So we were just blessed. We'll be married 24 years in April.
Well, Victoria, that leads me to my next question. Your life has taken an incredible path. This is obviously something that you could have never imagined being where you are now. And if someone had said to you when you were growing up that one day you would be the co-pastor of one of the largest and most diverse congregations in America, what would you have said to that person?
Well, I think like most people, you don't really understand, what God's going to do in your life. A lot of us have big dreams and high hopes, and when you finally arrive to a one place, it's just like, God, how did you get me here? And, I just wouldn't have believed it. Actually, when I married Joel, he wasn't pastoring. He was doing television for his father. And so, I didn't marry a pastor. So our life did have a huge transition when his father passed away about 11 years ago. And luckily, we've always served God and we've always loved God and always been in the ministry. So that was really great. But God did a lot of other things in our life that prepared us for where we are today. And they weren't exactly in ministry. They were in everyday life. And so I always like to say, if we'll make the most of every opportunity, it's amazing what God can do through those opportunities in our life or prepare us for.
Victoria, what is it like to minister to more than 40,000 people who attend your services each week?
Well, I'll tell you what, we still pinch ourselves. And we don't take for granted that, people come to hear the message of hope and to hear God's goodness. And it is an amazing experience to be able to share God's word with so many people in one place. And so we take that responsibility very seriously, and we're just very humbled and just at awe of what God's doing.
As a mother, how do you balance the challenges of maintaining your career and caring for your children?
Well, it's interesting, Joan, because really when Joel's father passed away and we began this transition, I had just a 2-month-old baby girl, and I had about 3.5-year-old baby boy. So it was a real learning curve, because we were doing things we had not done before. But it's interesting, you grow into a situation. When you look at a situation, you say, how did I get to where I was? Well, it was a step-by-step process. But we have always included our children as part of the ministry. We've never said, okay, we're going to go off and we're going to, minister and you stay here. We've always kind of brought them into being a part of it. And even in the children's church and even in, now my son plays in the band and my children's a leader in children's church. And as far as us going all over the country and ministering, they've taken a part in the services. So we've just had to balance things. We've had to prioritize our time. We've had to decide what's the most important. And, in doing that, you have to make choices and you have to spend time with your family. And you have to maybe not go out with your friends or do other things. So it's choices that you make, and it's just trying to stay in balance with your life.
Victoria, so much of your work, you strive to be an inspiration and a mentor to women, and you're committed to helping women find their purpose. How do you achieve this goal?
Well, it's very important to me that women understand their value. and what they can accomplish, and the fact that they do have influence. No matter what situation they're in, whether it's in their family or it's in their job every day, their life is an influence, and it speaks volumes to those around them. And sometimes we live our life and we don't necessarily feel very influential, or we don't feel like we're making a difference, but people are watching us every day. And we can lead people better than push people.
Right.
And so, if we'll just understand that the value God's placed on the inside of us, and that we are very important, no matter what level we're at or where God's placed us, then I believe that it opens us up to greater opportunities.
And, it's so true what you say, and I think that this is a very important issue for women, because I have a lot of friends who have stayed home. They're in their 40s now, and they chose to stay home, raise their family, and for some reason, society has just not put much emphasis on their value. And these women now are feeling that they've spent all these years, and they say things like, just raising my children, when really it's the most important thing someone can do. What would you say to these women?
I would say, look at your children and look at what you've produced. And I'd say that you can be a mentor to other women. And I'd also say that, one of your best assets is maybe not your eyes or your hair or your figure, but it's your attitude. It's the attitude you have about yourself. And so I believe that, when we have this attitude that we chose to stay home and we chose to raise our children, and we're glad that we did. Because, after you've raised your children and after you've done those things, you put those priorities first, there's always opportunity. You can just say, God, where's my next step? What do you want me to do now? And God will show you. And I always say this: no opportunity is too small or too large. It's what that opportunity is preparing you for. So if you really open yourself up and say, God, I chose to do this. Take me to my next step now. I think that God will show you, and I think He'll open doors for you, and I think your attitude is everything.
Victoria, you founded the women's ministry at Lakewood Church. What is the goal of this ministry?
Well, it's to connect women to each other. It's to help them grow in their families and their communities. It's to help them see themselves for who God made them to be. A lot of times I think women, they don't connect on the right level, and I think we can be a great benefit to one another. We can bring a lot of inspiration to one another. We can network with one another. We can build strong community with women and family. We can help each other. If you get women together that are choosing, like you said, to raise their kids, and they can network, and they can be this strong base for not only their families, but for other women to come in. So, or if you're a working woman. But we've got to learn to, appreciate each other's gifts and look at each other's strengths and just, rally together so that we can have strong community.
You're also involved with Feed the Children. Can you tell us a little bit about this organization?
Well, Feed the Children is a great organization, and they've got feeding programs all over Africa and abroad. And they also have Americans Feeding Americans, and it's a great organization that feeds children. I've just now begun to really concentrate a lot of effort also on child literacy. So I'm excited about that, and helping kids get, underprivileged kids get books in their hands. We just also did a program where we were able to help an orphanage in Africa through our women's ministry, like you were talking about, kind of build a foundation for the library in that orphanage. So it's just a lot of great things that, God's allowing us to do through this ministry.
Victoria, in 2008, Simon & Schuster released your first book, Love Your Life, and that book quickly became a New York Times bestseller. How did it feel to become a best-selling author?
Oh, it was great. I mean, I'm glad that people have responded to the book so well, and that's really what that means. It means that people got the book and read it, and that's the most important thing, because I feel like that there's a message in that book that does help. It helps a lot of people, but I think it really resounds with women, because as women, we want our life to be in order. We want to not only value ourselves I talked a lot about value, and the reason I talk about a lot about value is the fact that you can't give away something you don't have.
Right.
And when you value yourself, you can value those around you, your children, the people in your life. So I talk a lot about that. I talk a lot about, not letting fear stop you, mm-hmm. and making the most of your opportunities. And I talk a lot about relationships with your family and with your friends and your spouse. And so I think that those are some of the core things that women deal with every single day, just like we want to know how we're going to work and raise our family, how we're going to get along with our, relatives, and how do we get along with our spouse. And so I talked a lot about relationships in there. Right. And I think women care about relationships because we are so relational.
Right. And, you said something once that really hit home with me personally, and I have a feeling that it does resonate with many. And this is what you had said. Rather than be disheartened by waiting for others to validate you, validate yourself. And, that sounds easy to do, but in reality, especially for women, it's very challenging. What advice would you offer to women to help us believe in ourselves?
Well, you know what? You just got to get up every morning, and instead of just saying, today's another day, I got to make breakfast, I got to do the laundry, or I have to go make this presentation to a room full of people who, are negative. Whatever your day is, you really got to get up in the morning, and you got to say, you know what, God, I am going to do my very best today. I feel like I have something to offer, and you're going to help me. And you got to kind of shake off those attitudes of yesterday or the things that happened, and you got to just kind of make a decision that you're mm-hmm. going to go out and make it a good day, and you're going to be your very best for that day. And you know what? I always say this: applaud yourself. So maybe today you didn't, you missed your diet. You didn't do as good on your diet. Mm-hmm. Well, you did good on certain things today. So look at the things that you did do well on.
Right. We always tend to, we always tend to focus on the negative all the time. And as you said before, it's about attitude.
That's right. You may not have done great on this, but you were a great mom today. You made breakfast for your kids. You were there. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of things that you can do. And I tell a story in my book. It's about, send yourself flowers sometime. Don't wait for someone else to send you flowers. You can go to the grocery store and pick up a pot of flowers for yourself. Mm-hmm. You don't always have to spend a lot of money, but you can get you some a pretty little pot of flowers and set them on there, and that's just for you.
Right.
So validate yourself. Remind yourself of all the things that you do well.
And also, Victoria, in closing, you have a plaque hanging on the back door of your home that reads, "Move forward, I will be with you."
Yes.
What does this plaque mean, and how does it inspire you?
Well, it's actually what God spoke to Joshua after Moses died. He said, to move forward and I'll be with you. Someone gave us that plaque, and it was so... It was such an important time of our life. Joel's father had passed away, and we were just assuming the position of lead pastors at Lakewood. And it was not easy, and there was a lot of things that we were learning and a lot of things we were growing into, and just a lot of things that could have stopped us. And that plaque was just something that we saw every day when we left at the door, and it was just move forward, I'll be with you. And God's always with us, and mm-hmm. even in the most challenging times, he said he'd never leave us or forsake us. And we've just got to be still some time and just get that direction from God, and believe in ourselves and believe that God will help us every step of the way, and that usually when we do that, we find ourselves accomplishing more than we could ever accomplish on our own. Thank you, Joan, and I love the name of this program because it's so true. If we'll change our attitude, it's amazing what'll change around us.
This is Change Your Attitude, Change Your Life. I'm Joan Herman. Thanks for tuning in.